What is going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of Impact. I nearly called it TNA. Impact Resurgence. Before we get started, I just want to say I would have liked to get this episode out sooner, but, you know, life's a bitch, and, you know, sometimes you just don't have time. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into episode 2. Alrighty then, we are in the Prime Osborne Conventional something centre, in front of about 2,500 people. So the show opens with Matt Morgan and Chris Adonis stood in the middle of the ring, making their first appearance back on Impact Television. Morgan says, "Boy, does it feel good to be back in the Impact Zone." Now you guys may be wondering, Matt, why have you come back? Well, the truth is, I felt it was time for me to come home. It was time for Matt Morgan to prove himself again, and the only way to do that is to win gold. Adonis then says, "That's right, Matt, and I've got to say, those tag team championships look real good to me, obviously." Anything else? No. 50D plus. Yeah, these guys aren't that over, because they haven't been on telly for years. Really. So anyway, moving on. No work improvements. To another 50D plus. Before Adonis can continue, he's interrupted by Bram and Kingston, the Death Crew Council. Bram walks down to the ring, shaking his head, shouting no repeatedly. He then gets in Adonis's face, screaming down the mic. He says, "Hell no, Adonis, not on my watch. You don't just come in here and get a title match. No way. We are the Death Crew Council and we run this division. You want a title shot, you need to go through us." Kingston pulls Bram away, and after a discussion, Kingston takes the mic and walks right up to Adonis and Morgan. He says, "I think what Bram's trying to say is fight us, bitches." Morgan squares up to Kingston as a referee runs down and rings the bell. So Kingston's not suited to his gimmick. Did we change that last episode? I can't remember. Announcing quality lifted the segment, so did the colour commentary, got the crowd hotter. Kingston improves better performance skills. And we go into the match, which is a 52D plus, which isn't great. So in a poor match, Power Connection. I don't like that name. I said it to Autoname. If you have a better name for Matt Morgan and Chris Adonis, then yeah, let us know in the comments, because my mind went completely blank, to be honest, which is why we ended up using Autoname, and we got Power Connection. Yeah. But anyway, they defeat the Death Crew Council in 8 minutes when Matt Morgan defeats Kingston by pinfall with a carbon footprint. Kingston, again, not suited to his gimmick. The colour commentary gives the match a boost. Matt Morgan, in-ring of 56, Adonis 31, Kingston 38, and Bram 48. The storyline advances, and Matt Morgan improves in performance. So Adonis and Morgan celebrate in the middle of the ring as Bram helps Kingston out, shouting slander at the winners. Adonis and Morgan taunt to the crowd. JB then says, "Well, there you have it, guys. Chris Adonis and Matt Morgan triumphant on their Impact return, and they potentially throw themselves straight into the Tag Team Championship picture." Pope says, "You might be right, JB, but don't think that Bram and Kingston, the Death Crew Council, if you will, are going to take this line down." And then JB says, "You could be right there, Pope. I guess we'll find out next week on Impact." If you will. Gotta chuck some of the Pope's questionable phrases in there. Kingston not suited his gimmick. The Pope gets better at his gimmick. Kingston underperformed. And the Pope came across well. Cool. Bram improves at acting. 41D plus. We now head to an abandoned church where we find the Decay with Rosemary stood in front of Abyss, who's staring at the camera, and Crazy Steve, who is staring blankly into the distance. Rosemary says, "Oh, LAX, you think this is your house? How funny. Last week, Reno Scum learnt how it feels to decay, and soon you will too. When we beat you, you will decay into obscurity, and the Tag Team Championships will decay with us. And Brooke, pretty little Brooke, you think that you have a claim to this Knockouts Championship? You have nothing, my little sweet. When I beat you and retain my championship, you, as well as LAX, will learn that everything has its time, and when that time comes, you will decay, decay, decay." So the colour commentary again gives the segment a boost. No work improvements. 37D minus in a bout that had terrible wrestling and non-existent crowd heat. Andrew Everett defeats Marche Rocket by pinfall with a shooting star press. Everett 30, Rocket 32. I don't like Marche Rocket, but he improves in technical. We move on to a 30E+. So Everett is celebrating his win over Marche Rocket when he's interrupted by Gregory Shane Helms and the X Division champion Trevor Lee. Helms says, "Well, Trevor, would you look at this? The little boy thinking he's all grown up. Andrew Everett, you think you're good enough to beat Trevor Lee? You really think that? That's funny, man. You're funny. May I remind you that Trevor Lee is the saviour of the X Division. He's made this division relevant again, and under my guidance, obviously." Before Helms can continue, Everett grabs a mic and he says, "Shut up, Helms. Just shut up. You just can't help it, can you? Every time you open your mouth, all that comes out is crap. I will beat Trevor Lee and I will become X Division champion. Watch this space." So Everett and Lee struggled. Oh, can't talk today. Everett and Lee struggled because Shane Helms wasn't following a script. Any worker improvements? No. There's a turn, is there? I can't remember. Gregory Shane Helms gimmick change. No, I don't know why that. Strange. Next segment. We now join Impact Grand Champion Moose backstage, and he has a few words for Cody. He says, "Cody, Cody, Cody, last week you cheap shotted me and put me down. This week I will put you down. But I won't need to cheap shot you. I want you staring right at me when I punch you straight in the face. I've made the Grand Championship division what it is, and I will do anything I possibly can to keep this title. Cody, you better be prepared for a war." There's no work improvements. Advances the storyline though. And in a 51D+, Eli Drake is stood in the middle of the ring and is waiting for the crowd to stop booing. He says, "Quiet down, dummies, quiet down. Last week, the dummies backstage didn't think they had time for Eli Drake to have a match. This week, I've decided to take it on myself to make time. So this is a message to anyone in the back that thinks they're good enough to deserve to lose to Eli Drake." Storm's music hits and the Cowboy makes his way down to the ring and says, "Eli, I was sitting in the back and I don't think I heard you correctly. You see, I thought you said anyone who's good enough to lose to you, but the thing is, I'm here and I know for damn sure I could kick your ass all over this arena. In fact, I think I'm going to start right now." Storm takes a sip of beer. I can't talk today. Storm takes a sip of beer, throws the bottle to the side and attacks Drake. Storm gets better at his gimmick. Moving on to the match, which gets a 56C-. That's not terrible. In a decent match, James Storm defeats Eli Drake when Eli Drake intentionally got counted out. So Storm with a 61, Drake with a 36, and Drake improves in performance. Eli walks back up the ramp, shaking his head and shaking his finger in the air, signalling that he wants nothing to do with James Storm. The Cowboy taunts the Drake before celebrating with the fans. There we go. So Josh Matthews, goddamn, Josh Matthews is sat down backstage with Lashley. He says, "Hello everyone, I'm joined at this time with the Impact World Heavyweight Champion at Walking Armageddon, the Destroyer, Lashley. Lashley, last week we found out that you'll be facing EC3, I nearly said Eli Drake, I really can't talk today. You'll be facing EC3 for your World Championship. How do you feel going into that match now you know?" Lashley says, "You know what, Josh? It doesn't matter. Whether it's EC3, whether it's, I don't know, Alberto El Patron, I know that I will retain my world title. And you know how I know that? It's because I'm the best, Josh. Ever since I stepped foot in this company, the only guy who's been in the title picture that whole time is me. Ethan Carter, when you decide you're ready, come tell me, we'll go out to the ring. I'll spear your ass into the mat and prove once again that Lashley is and always will be the absolute best in Impact Wrestling." 67C+. I like it. The 59C, in about that had a good distraction. In about that had good wrestling but non-existent crowd heat, Sienna defeats Brooke Tessmacher by submission with a modified go-go platter after a distraction from me, apparently. I think that's meant to be Rosemary. During the match, we also had Rosemary distract. Okay. I must have been on something when I wrote this. when I booked this. I don't know. The match suffered from a lack of psychology, did its job and gave the crowd a breather. Ali is not suited to a gimmick, full time to face turn. Why is she... I've debuted my gimmick, what? Brooke with a 76, Sienna with a 54. That match was... okay, moving on. Rosemary laughs as she enters the ring, crawling up to the fallen Brooke. Rosemary grabs Brooke by the hair, lifting her head and licking her face. Rosemary then sprays mist in Brooke's face and leaves her in the middle of the ring, screaming Decay as she walks back up the ramp, dragging her Knockouts Championship behind her. Music video shown to promote suicide, because filler. A 60C, that's not what I was hoping for. In a decent match, Cody defeats Moose in 7 minutes by pinfall after using a foreign object. Cody wins the Impact Grand Championship title. Brandy Rhodes did some good work at ringside. Moose and Brandy have pretty good chemistry. I keep forgetting to change her off Moose as manager. Moose with a 43, Cody with a 64. That advances the storyline, no work or improvements. 47D, Cody wins the Impact Grand Championship, pinning Moose in the 3rd round. Cody snatches the title from the referee and begins to rub it in Moose's face, shouting, "How does that feel?" Moose weakly attempts to push Cody away, who laughs and stomps on Moose. Brandy gets in the ring and pulls Cody away, who raises the championship, laughing as the referee checks on Moose. So Cody gets better at his gimmick. Cody looked good. Brandy underperformed. No work or improvements. It's not going as well as I'd like, to be honest, but the storyline advances anyway. Lost heat. Chris Adonis and Matt Morgan are stood backstage talking about their re-debut on Impact. Morgan says, "Oh man, it felt good to be back out there in front of these fans, picking up wins, man." Adonis says, "I couldn't agree more, Matt. I can't say I was the most liked guy the last time I was here, but..." Adonis is interrupted as he is attacked from behind by Bram. Kingston jumps Morgan a second later, and the two beat down on Adonis and Morgan. The DCC then put Morgan through a catering table and stare at the broken bodies of Morgan and Chris Adonis. Bram says, "You don't want any of this, lads. Stay away from Impact in the future." And the two walk off laughing as officials and medical staff check on Adonis and Morgan. So Kingston's not suited to his gimmick. I'm sure we changed that in the last episode, but I can't remember. It must have been on the pre-show. No, I didn't have a pre-show. Oh, I don't know. Kingston's not suited to his gimmick anyway. The announcing and the colour commentary gave the segment a boost. Morgan comes across well, no work or improvements. And the main event, 71C+, it's not terrible. In a decent match, EC3 defeats Davey Richards in 12 minutes by pinfall with a 1%er, with an 1%er, good grammar, with a 1%er following interference from Eddie Edwards. EC3 63, Davey Richards 66. The Wolves odd storyline starts. EC3 improves in technical and flying, and Davey Richards improves in performance, which is cool. So Davey Richards is livid that Eddie is costing the match against EC3, the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. Richard rolls out the ring, and Davey and Eddie begin to brawl all around the ringside area using barricades, chairs, and the commentary table to deal damage to each other. The show ends as security are trying to split up the Wolves. So Angelina Love helps Richards during the segment, no work or improvements, but that's how we finish the show, which gets a 62C. The crowd was disappointed at not getting any matches that set their aim as storyline. A storyline? Storytelling. I thought I set Richards or Cody. I thought I set Cody and Moose for that. I can't remember. Obviously not. The show increases popularity in 27 regions, which is cool. So that is it for this episode of Impact and this episode of Resurgence. I suppose we could go and see what the TV rating was. Let's do that. Right then, so Impact gets a 0.96, which isn't great. Pop. Oh, that's week 1. Okay, so that's good then. yeah, week 1 they weren't very happy. It got a 0.67, but week 2 of April 2017 we get a 0.96, which everyone's happy about. Everyone's smiley. It's all fun and games. Yeah, 0.96 buy rate, because apparently we have a pay-per-view carrier showing TV. Gets a 0.01, but I'm not really fussed about that. But yeah, that is it for this episode of I nearly called it Ignition then. Oh, I've been watching Rick too much. That is it for episode 2 of Resurgence. That's what we called this. Resurgence. That wasn't Ignition, that was Impact. Fucking hell, Aaron. But yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments, and leave a like, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel for more, and I will catch you in the next episode. Peace.